In the United Kingdom, far-right attacks and violent disorder continues across several cities, prompting some countries, including India, to issue travel warnings. The unrest was triggered by last week's knife attack that killed 3 children in the town of Southport. The riots broke out following false reports spread online about the origin of the attacker. In many ways, the attacks are targeted on immigrants, but it's not the United Kingdom alone. Similar trends of far-right violence is being observed in the rest of Europe as well. The latest, in fact, coming in from the UK is that the country is on alert, is bracing for more riots across the country. Over 400 arrests have been made so far. UK Prime Minister has vowed to take action against the rioters. That's the update that is coming in the United Kingdom. Far-right attacks and violent disorders continue across several cities. It's not the UK alone. Similar trend of far-right violence is being observed in rest of Europe as well. We'll connect with our correspondent in Berlin in just a bit to get an update on that macro situation, the manner in which similar situation is unfolding in Europe. That in a bit from now. Meanwhile, UK is on alert against more riots. Let us turn to my colleague Ollie Barrett in London, who gets us more on this and other stories. Ollie, what is the latest on the riot situation? All right, we're going across to Ollie Barrett in London, who will fill us in with the latest updates as far as the riot situation in UK is concerned. The British police braced for further riots across England. According to reports, at least 30 protests could be witnessed on Wednesday. Police sources say nearly 6,000 officers have been mobilized for maintaining law and order. Further, MPs with offices near the locations of planned demonstrations have already been warned by Parliament's security team about possible disorder. They've also been asked to consider working from home. Those are the updates coming in from the United Kingdom. This comes as Prime Minister Keir Starmer convened his second emergency coordination meeting with police chiefs on Tuesday. Starmer said he's now expecting substantive sentencing of rioters within days. So far, authorities have made over 400 arrests and filed charges against more than 100 people in relation to the recent riots.
400 people now have been arrested, 100 have been charged, some in relation to online activity, and a number of them are already in court. And I'm now expecting substantive sentencing before the end of this week. That should send a very powerful message to anybody involved, either directly or online, that you are likely to be dealt with within a week, and that nobody, but nobody, should be involving themselves in this disorder.
With the wave of violence escalating, leader of the right-wing Reform Party, Nigel Farage, has said that he was not responsible for inciting violent protest. In an interview, Farage added that he himself faces security concerns as results of criticism of his comments on the Southport killings. He said he believed that different communities in the UK face different treatment by the police on the basis of their race.
At no point in the last week or in the previous 30 years have I ever encouraged the use of violence, have I ever encouraged the use of anti-democratic means. And yet, you know, you get the internet and people saying things on the internet. I have had nothing to do with any form of street violence now or at any point in my career.
Let's now go across to my colleague Ollie Barrett in London to get the latest as far as the riot situation is concerned. Ollie, over to you.
Thank you, Shubhendu. And yes, we were hearing from Nigel Farage there, who has been facing ongoing pressure over the disorder here in the UK and has been setting out his defence. And before that, we were hearing from Keir Starmer. And when he talks about robust sentencing, he hopes that that will prove a deterrent in the days ahead. And we can go to DD India's Stuart Smith now in London for more on this story. And Stuart, these 30 plus possible locations that we've been hearing about for protests of some sort later today, what kind of places are these?
Well, they mostly appear to be organisations linked to immigrants, refugees and asylum seekers, with one of the phrases used on that circulating graphic saying "no more immigration" on it, which has led to some lawyers around the country reporting to British media that they have been threatened. They're keeping some staff at home on Wednesday and they've boarded up office windows in anticipation of any possible violence. The Law Society, which represents legal professionals in the UK, says there isn't much we can really advise except don't go to work and don't meet clients, but how long, it asks, can they really advise people to do that? The government has said it is concerned about the disorder that could happen tonight. The Communities Minister said earlier that at this point they don't know if such disorder will transpire, as we've seen in the previous week, or whether it's just a list intended to provoke or to cause alarm. But the Communities Minister says the police, the courts and the prosecution are ready. Unverified sources suggest that 6,000 police are on standby across the country to take on any possible disorder, and the Met says it will use every power. London's police force, the Met, says it will use every power, tactic and tool available to prevent further scenes of disorder. Now, one of the tactics the Prime Minister has been advocating for is swift justice, fast sentencing, and we saw the first prison sentences handed down earlier today in Liverpool Crown Court. One of those jailed for 3 years, sentenced to prison for 3 years for violent disorder and assault of an emergency worker. The judge said that this man had been part of a group involved in a deeply racist chants. Another has received 2.5 years after being caught on CCTV lighting a police van on fire, and another one, part of a crowd of around 100, prosecutors said, who were throwing rocks and bricks, sentenced to 20 months in prison. Whether that will make any difference to whether rioters come out or not on Wednesday evening, we'll have to wait and see.
We will indeed. Thank you, Stuart Smith in London.